Here's the thing. Some of you are carrying a quiet fear that your life is a pile of unrelated episodes. You've switched majors, switched jobs, switched cities. You've got a resume that reads like a playlist on shuffle, good tracks, no album. You lie awake wondering if you've wasted time, if you've fallen behind, if the person next to you has a neat linear path while yours looks like a tangle of wire. I know that feeling. When I dropped out of Reed College, it didn't look like strategy, it looked like chaos. I slept on floors. I returned Coke bottles for the deposit. I walked across town on Sunday nights for a free meal at the Hare Krishna temple. None of that would have passed a career counselor's checklist. It felt messy because it was, but in that mess, something honest emerged. I could finally choose what to pay attention to. I dropped out so I could drop into the things that pulled at me with gravity. Calligraphy did that. I sat in a room staring at the way. Ink met paper, the shape of serifs, the rhythm between letters, the way a curve can make a word feel inevitable. It was useless until it wasn't. Years later, when we built the Macintosh, the sensibilities from that room poured into the product. Proportionally spaced fonts, multiple typefaces, a screen that felt like it respected your eyes. People called it taste. For me, it was gratitude. Gratitude that a strange detour had given me a vocabulary for beauty. I made other detours. I went to India, shaved my head, and learned the discipline of simplicity. Not minimalism as an aesthetic, simplicity as a truth. I saw how removing the non-essential lets the essential breathe. That would show up later in how we built products, how we edited features, how we said no to 1,000 things so one thing could sing. So if your path looks like static right now, don't panic. Static is just a signal you haven't tuned yet. Your so-called random experiences aren't liabilities. They're raw material. The question is not, did I waste time? It's, am I brave enough to trust that these dots mean something I can't see yet? I was fired from Apple at 30, the company I started in my parents' garage with 𝐂𝐨𝐧𝐧𝐞𝐭. The headlines treated it like a Greek tragedy. But losing Apple gave me a strange gift. The heaviness of being successful was replaced by the lightness of being a beginner again. I started next. I helped a little animation studio, Pixar, find its voice. None of it was the plan. All of it became the path. Here's what I learned in the wilderness. When your path doesn't make sense, tighten your grip on your curiosity, not your calendar. Calendars can keep you busy. Curiosity keeps you alive. Curiosity is how you collect dots, and the dots are how you make a future no one can copy, because no one else lived your life. And one more thing, your time is limited. Remembering that you'll be dead soon is the most powerful tool I know for making big choices. Death is a fierce editor. It removes the polite reasons to keep pretending you're on the wrong map. When you hold your life up to that light, the question of whether your path looks tidy becomes irrelevant. The only question left is whether you're paying attention to what your own dots are trying to say. Core principle trust, the dots will connect. People love plans. Plans feel safe. They draw a clean line from A to B to C with milestones that make you look responsible at family dinners. But real lives, interesting lives, rarely follow clean lines. You cannot plot a masterpiece with spreadsheet logic. You can cultivate a posture. Trust that the dots you're collecting today will connect into something valuable tomorrow. You will not see the pattern in real time. You'll see it in hindsight. That's uncomfortable. Trust is uncomfortable. But trust is also a skill. You practice it by making honest choices in the present and refusing to discount them, because they lack an immediate payout. Trust is not passivity. It's not let's see what happens. Trust is active attention. Trust is choosing classes that call you, projects that wake you up, books that bend your thinking, people who agitate your standards. Trust is collecting high-quality dots on purpose and keeping them close. The world will try to convince you that only certain dots count: degrees, titles, promotions. Those dots can be useful, but they're not the whole picture. The dots that made me were weirder. A calligraphy class that taught me proportion, a spiritual trip that taught me simplicity, afternoons in a garage that taught me stubbornness, nights arguing about pixels that taught me respect for the user. None of those came with a certificate. All of them showed up in products people could feel. Here's a rule I live by without having words for it at first. Curiosity chooses, courage commits. Curiosity pulls you into rooms where you don't know the script. Courage keeps you there long enough to learn the point. Curiosity without courage is tourism. Courage without curiosity is dogma. You need both. Trust also requires subtraction. You cannot connect dots you never collected because you were busy collecting everyone else's obligations. That's why I say focus is about saying no to 1,000 things. Every time you say no to a shallow obligation, you make room for a deep experience. Every deep experience becomes a dot with weight. Heavy dots connect into sturdy bridges. People used to talk about my reality distortion field. They made it sound like hypnosis. It wasn't. It was a refusal to surrender to the first answer. It was the habit of asking the question behind the question, what would have to be true for this to work? When you ask that, you pull new dots into view. Technical dots, human dots, design dots. You start seeing possibilities instead of excuses. And one more thing, trust is easier when you remember that the clock is ticking. Death clarifies. It trims the list. It makes it obvious that a day spent feeding anxiety is a day your future will never get back. When you hold your life next to that fact, you stop asking, is this on the plan? And you start asking, does this feel like a dot I want to carry into the rest of my life? Stay hungry, stay foolish. Hungry enough to keep collecting unusual dots, foolish enough to believe they'll connect into a future worth the trouble. Framework, the three-step dot connecting process. It turns out you don't need a complicated system. You need a simple process you'll actually do. Here's the one I recommend, 3 steps. Clear, repeatable, honest. 1, inventory your skills and passions. Open a blank page. Draw 2 columns, skills and obsessions. In skills, list what you can actually do today, even if you learned it in a job you hated. Coding, a simple API. Sketching interfaces, writing copy that doesn't embarrass you, editing video, negotiating, teaching, baking, fixing broken things. Don't be precious, be honest. In obsessions, list what you can't stop noticing. Typography, street photography, jazz rhythms. Meditation, robotics, the way kids learn, the way elders use technology. The moment a good product becomes a friend, include the experiences that changed you. A year abroad, a hospital stay, a failed startup, a book that rerouted your thinking, a person who raised your standard. These aren't trivia. They're signals. Now, for each list, circle the items that carry energy, not the ones that look good, the ones that make your eyebrows go up when you talk about them. Energy is your body's way of pointing at dots with potential. 2, find the intersections. Draw a grid. On one axis, your circled skills. On the other, your circled obsessions. Where they cross, write a 1-line experiment. Use my interface skills to make meditation techniques visual for teenagers. Use my copywriting skill to explain robotics to non-engineers. Use my coding skill to build a tool that helps photographers learn typography for captions. Intersections are where originality lives because few people share your exact mix. Now run each intersection through 2 filters. Relevance. Does this solve a real problem for a real person I can name? If you can't picture someone saying thank you after using it, the dot might be interesting but not useful, at least not yet. Resonance. When you imagine working on this for a week, do you feel dread or focus? If you don't feel a pull, you won't have the stamina to protect it when life throws noise at you. Pick 3 intersections that pass both filters. Write each as a mission sentence. I design for so they can. Keep the verb sharp, keep the audience real, keep the benefit concrete. Start a small project at an intersection. Choose 1 mission sentence and commit to a 7-day micro project, not a business plan, a working thing. Define done by the first minute of a user's experience. What do they see? Tap, hear, feel. Build that first minute. Give it to 5 people who match your audience. Watch their faces. Listen to where they hesitate. Don't explain. Their confusion is your to-do list. Iterate once, then ship, publish the article, post the demo, push the repo, send the email, launch the landing page. The point isn't to win the internet. The point is to convert an intersection from theory to reality. When the thing touches the world, you collect new dots, feedback, data, language. You can steal from a user's mouth a sentence that finally tells the truth. Every micro project you ship is a dot with momentum. Repeat the loop. Inventory intersections, micro project, ship, learn, refine the inventory. After a month, you'll see patterns. The same verbs keep showing up. The same audience keeps thanking you. The same part of the process lights you up. Those patterns are the early outline of a path you don't have to fake. If this idea resonates, if you can feel how turning your life into a living lab would change your days, then show it. Subscribe to this channel. We're building a community that doesn't wait for permission, that connects real dots into real products, and that refuses to drown in other people's plans. Join us and hold yourself to one small shipped intersection each week. Mini case read, calligraphy, India, and the Mac. It turns out the dots that looked the most random at the time became the most precious in hindsight. I didn't take calligraphy because I foresaw desktop publishing. I took it because it was beautiful. I didn't go to India to optimize productivity. I went because something in me wanted to be still long enough to hear my own life speak. I didn't sleep on floors because I was brave. I did it because I was stubborn enough to keep following a thread I couldn't name at read the calligraphy. Classrooms smelled like paper and ink. I learned about the weight of strokes, the mathematics of proportion, the way negative space can be as expressive as filled space. I learned that letters have personalities. Some typefaces smile. Some shout. Some get out of the way so the text can become the voice. That sensitivity lodged itself in me like a new organ. India taught me something different. Simplicity that respects complexity. I saw rituals that had been refined over centuries until every gesture carried meaning. I learned to trust silence. I learned that removing the non-essential isn't poverty, it's clarity. This is not minimalism as a fashion, this is minimalism as mercy. When we built the Macintosh, both dots showed up. We didn't bolt on typography at the end, we baked it in from the first minute. The Mac greeted you with type that felt like ink, not pixels pretending to be important. Menus made sense because we expected them to be read by a human being with a pulse and a day to get on with. The interface carried a fragrance of care. People noticed without knowing why. That why was dots connected. We also built the whole widget hardware and software together because simplicity breaks when responsibility is fragmented. Owning the whole experience meant we could say no to seams that a user shouldn't have to manage. It meant the box, the unboxing, the first 30 seconds, the 100th hour, every part of the story was our job. That's not control for its own sake, it's accountability to the person on the other side. And then there was the pirate flag. We raised it over the Mac building, not as a prank, but as a declaration. It's better to be a pirate than join the Navy. It reminded us that our job wasn't to respect the way things had been done. Our job was to respect the user and the future. Respect looks like saying no to 1,000 features so one promise can be kept. Respect looks like sweating the final 10% when everyone is tired. Respect looks like shipping, because shipping is how ideas earn the right to live. I got fired from Apple. That dot hurt. But it led to NextT, where we built software with a purity that would later become the foundation of Apple's renaissance. It led to Pixar, where story and technology met, and we learned to make light feel like a character. When I returned to Apple, those dots were waiting. We drew a 4-quadrant grid, consumer and pro, desktop and portable, and killed everything that didn't fit. People called it ruthless. It was merciful. Merciful to the user, merciful to the team. Merciful to the future we wanted. Focus is a kindness. Looking back, the line is clean. In the moment, it was anything but. That's why I keep telling you, don't demand that your path look like a brochure. Demand that it feel true. Gather dots that change your standards. Protect them. Let them collide. One day, you'll look back and see a line that only you could have drawn. Protect the intersections, focus, depth, and the courage to edit. You can't connect dots if you keep drowning in noise. Intersections are delicate. They need protection. Protection looks like focus, which means saying no to almost everything so the few true yeses can breathe. When you say no, you're not being negative. You're being a designer of your own life. You're removing the irrelevant so the essential can be seen. That's what we did with products. We didn't make things simple to look clever. We made them simple so people could live with them. Simplicity is respect made visible. Focus has enemies. The first is fear. Fear of missing out, fear of disappointing people, fear of being wrong. The cure is a sentence. Who am I building for and what promise am I keeping? If an opportunity doesn't make that promise stronger, it's a distraction with a title. The second enemy is vanity. Vanity wants breadth. Excellence wants depth. Vanity asks, how many projects can I touch? Excellence asks, which one will people still care about in 5 years? I used to walk into meetings and draw a simple grid. 4 boxes. What's in each? What's not in any? The grid wasn't a diagram, it was a discipline. It demanded choices. The third enemy is speed without taste. The world worships velocity. The user worships relief. Don't sacrifice the final 10% where the soul of the thing lives. That last mile isn't a flourish, it's the difference between almost right and feels inevitable. You earn the right to lavish care on the last 10% by refusing 90% of the junk that tries to climb into your day. Surround yourself with A players. A players aren't defined by their resume, they're defined by their standards. They argue about pixels because pixels carry stories. They cut features that demo well but confuse humans. They love the user more than they love their own ideas. B players hire C players, and the average collapses. A players hire A players, and the dots connect faster because the room is full of people who see the same horizon. And keep death close, not morbidly, but honestly. Each morning I ask myself, if today were the last day of my life, would I want to do what I'm about to do? When the answer was no, too many days in a row, I changed something. That question is dynamite. It blows up pretense. It leaves you with the work and the people you love. Use it to edit your week. Use it to edit your product. Use it to edit your identity. If this is hard, good. Excellence is expensive, and you pay in advance. You pay with no. You pay with focus. You pay by letting go of a dozen clever ideas so one insanely great idea can become real. That pain is the sound of dots snapping into alignment. Action plan your intersection sprint. Now it's your turn. Not tomorrow, not when the quarter calms down. Today. You don't need a new job title to start. You need an hour, a pen, and the honesty to follow through. Here's a simple plan to move from fear that your path makes no sense to confidence that your dots are building something only you can ship. Step 1. List your 5 significant dots, 20 minutes. Write down your 5 most significant life experiences or skills. Be specific. Dropped a major and taught myself Blender over summer. Moved across countries and learned to navigate silence. Was a caregiver for 6 months and built patience I didn't know existed. Shipped a small Chrome extension that 300 strangers use every day. Wrote 50 newsletter issues and finally found a tone that feels like me. These are dots with weight. Include at least one that feels random. The random ones often carry the secret. Step 2, pair them into intersections. Draw lines between pairs that create useful tension. Caregiving Times interface design tools for overwhelmed families. Blender Times, newsletters, visual explainers that make hard ideas graspable in 1 minute. Silence times product marketing onboarding that calms, not shouts. For each pair, write a 1-sentence idea. Use to help so they can. Don't judge, generate. Step 3, choose one intersection to test. 5 minutes. Pick the one that makes your pulse jump, not the one that feels safe, the one that feels true. Commit to testing it this week with a micro project. Circle it. Put a date on it. 7 days from now. That date is non-negotiable. Scope flexes. The date doesn't. Step 4, define the first minute, 10 minutes. On a single sheet, script the user's first minute. What do they see? Tap, read, feel. If you can't make the first minute obvious on paper, your idea is still a fog. Clarity now prevents apology later. The first minute is your product's handshake. Make it honest. Step 5, build a tiny shippable thing, 2-3 days. Create the smallest object that proves the intersection to a real person, a landing page with a real button, a 1-minute video, a PDF that solves a precise problem, a prototype that does one action end to end. Keep the scope so small you can't hide. Use constraints like a sculptor uses stone. Step 6, iterate in public with a small circle one day. Find 5 people who match your audience. Put the thing in their hands. Ask them to narrate the first minute. Do not explain. Listen. Their confusion is your roadmap. Fix only what prevents the promise from being felt. Don't add features. Remove friction. Step 7, ship and learn. Day 7, publish, post, send, flip the switch, announce to the small group, then watch not just dashboards but faces and words. Write a 1-page reflection. What worked, what stung, what surprised you, what you'll change in the next iteration. Put the next step on the calendar. Bonus, guard your sprint with 3 no's daily. Each morning for the next 7 days, decide 3 things you will not do because they dilute your intersection. No, unplanned meetings before noon. No feature that doesn't improve the first minute. No social media until after I ship today's task. Write them down. Keep them. Subtraction is how you buy time for connection. Bonus, adopt a symbol. Now. We had a pirate flag. You may put a single word on your wall, connect. Or tape a beautiful letter form near your screen. Or wear a bracelet you only wear when you're building. The symbol is a trigger. It tells your brain which story you're in today. Bonus, ask the death question daily. If today were the last day of my life, would I want to spend it moving this intersection forward? If the answer is no, re-choose. Don't waste your last day building someone else's backlog. Here's what will happen if you keep this up for 4 weeks. 4 micro projects, 4 shipped intersections. The fog will lift. Patterns will emerge. You'll see a path you didn't have to invent. You had to reveal it. You'll have artifacts, links, screenshots, prototypes that prove to you and to the world that your dots are not random. They're yours. They belong together. And your confidence will stop being motivational and start being empirical. And one more thing, if this hits home, if you can feel your shoulders drop at the idea that your mess is actually material, subscribe to this channel. We're building a community that takes unusual dots seriously, that practices focus as an act of love, that ships small and learns fast, that thinks differently on purpose. If you believe in changing the status quo by trusting your dots, join us. Closing the line, only you. Can draw your past is not a prison, it's a palette. The classes you wandered into, the jobs you left, the countries you crossed, the losses you survived, the obsessions you couldn't explain, these are not mistakes, they are ingredients. People will try to sell you a factory-made path, thank them, and keep walking. Factories make copies. You're here to make something that can't be copied. You can't always see the picture while you're inside the pixels. That's okay. Decide what kind of pixel you want to be today. Honest, curious, disciplined, focused. Collect the dots that raise your standard. Protect them from noise. Connect them in public with small, shippable work. Let the world react. Learn, edit, repeat. Your time is limited. Don't waste it living someone else's life. Don't let the noise of other people's opinions drown out your own inner voice. Have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. They somehow already know what you truly want to become. That courage doesn't look like a grand gesture. It looks like an hour today where you write the 5 dots and draw the first line between 2 of them. It looks like a week where you ship something small and honest. It looks like a month where you can finally point and say, see, there's the pattern. Stay hungry. Hungry for better dots. For higher standards, for work that feels inevitable. Stay foolish, foolish enough to try combinations no one asked for, foolish enough to raise a pirate flag over your desk and call this the beginning, because it is the beginning. If you're committed to putting a dent in the universe by connecting your dots, not mine, not anyone else's, subscribe and press the like button. Share this with one person who needs to hear that their path is not broken, it's brewing. Now, go and do something wonderful. Pick 2 dots, draw a line, ship the first inch of your future,